Welcome to today's deep dive into the bedrock of geotechnical engineering. Long before we had sophisticated digital mapping, the industry faced a chaotic Tower of Babel problem. Nobody could agree on how to describe the dirt beneath their feet. In the 1940s, a professor at Columbia University named Donald M. Burmister decided to fix that. He realized that for an engineer, calling something muddy sand wasn't just vague, it was dangerous. He set out to create a systematic, visual, manual method that allowed engineers to communicate soil properties with surgical precision. The Burmister system revolutionized the field by focusing on the proportions of soil components. Instead of generic labels, Burmister introduced a hierarchy based on weight. You start with the primary constituent, the major portion, and then add modifiers for the minor portions. For example, if you encounter a sample labeled fine to medium sand, some silt, you aren't just looking at a random mix. You are looking at a specific structural reality where the sand forms the skeleton of the soil, while the silt occupies the voids between the grains. Breaking down the percentage language. What makes Burmister's work so enduring is his use of specific proportion terms that correlate to weight percentages. In this system, words aren't fluff, they are measurements. If a description says "and," it means that component makes up 35% to 50% of the total weight. Some indicates 20% to 35%. Little means 10% to 20%. And trace covers anything from 1% to 10%. This allows an engineer sitting in an office to visualize the exact texture of a site. Burmister recognized that real-world infrastructure usually sits on layers, like a stiff asphalt or concrete pavement resting on a much softer soil subgrade. By accounting for the interaction between these two distinct layers, his equation allows us to predict how much a surface will deflect under pressure, which is the difference between a road that lasts decades and one that cracks in its first year. In the U.S. customary system, the math focuses on variables like contact pressure in pounds per square inch and the radius of the load area in inches. The general form for total settlement, delta T, typically looks like this. Here, P is your pressure, A is the radius, and E2 is the modulus of the lower subgrade layer. The real magic, however, lies in the dimensionless deflection factor, FW. This factor is derived from the ratio of the thicknesses and the elastic moduli of the two layers, E1 over E2. It essentially tells us how much the top reinforcing layer is helping to spread the load and protect the weaker soil underneath. From a practical standpoint, mastering this equation is a rite of passage for geotechnical and civil engineers. It's not just about plugging in numbers, it's about understanding the stiffness ratio. If your top layer is significantly stiffer than your subgrade, FW drops, meaning your settlement decreases. This is why we use high-quality base courses in highway construction. Whether you are prepping for a professional licensing exam or designing a heavy-duty industrial floor, Burmister's work remains the gold standard for layered elastic analysis, ensuring our structures stay level and our pavements stay smooth.